Hello and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons, the weekly podcast that revisits, reviews, and ridicules some of the world's weirdest animated series. Coming to you from the high frontier, I'll be your co-host, Dave Drumbore. Joining me as always, my co-host, Sean Cliffhanger Ellis. How's it going, Sean?
David. I'm doing well, buddy. How about yourself?
I'm doing really good. I'm glad that we're watching another well, they're all bonkers at this point, but another crazy cartoon that I was not super familiar with to begin with, so I did not know what to expect. I know we talked about this previously, and you had, I think, some of the toys?
I had one or two of the toys for this, yes.
One or two of the, 14 characters that are on screen at any given time?
Oh my god, Jesus. There are so... I really wonder, how they were able to... how they were able to put out so many toys for this, because as we've talked about primarily, is that what happens is that the cartoon is used as a vehicle to sell the toy.
Right.
And so the cartoon will come first and the toy will come second. This is one of those rare instances where there was a toy that then they made a cartoon for it to kind of fill in some of the gaps.
To explain the reason
if
for
you
the
could,
toy, if you will.
Because they couldn't be like, oh, what's this character's name? A bad financial decision.
Yeah.
Ooh, doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it doesn't work with the investors too well. But were you familiar with the cartoon at all, though?
I must have watched it at some point,
Yeah.
but I really think that I was more into the commercials for this franchise and the toys. I just thought the toys were really cool.
Let me ask you this: were these those commercials where it was like real kids playing with the real toys?
Oh hell yeah!
But in a heightened setting, like some team of adult engineers had come in and rigged up an entire play area for them and told them exactly what to do. Yeah.
And I want to say it was also one of those ones where it was cut. If it was a 30-second commercial, there was maybe 10 seconds of it where it was a really kind of flashy cartoon decal that kind of migrated and wiped up to the front of the screen. It was Sky Commanders. And I was like, oh, I got to get these. I remember, I want to say I remember trying really hard to find this toy.
Okay.
For some ungodly reason. And I remember finding it in New Jersey when I was visiting my grandparents.
That's where all bad toys go to die. A little known fact, but yeah.
And it was something where I was just like, oh, I got to get these. And they're like, well, you should just get two. And I'm like, that's why you're the best grandparents.
Grandparents are the best.
The best.
I just want one toy. You should probably get two.
Probably get two.
It's Jersey. They're just going to burn them anyway.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't think I ever had these, though. But when you were talking about them before, it seems like something that would have been right up my alley because essentially these were just kind of like G.I. Joes attached. They were attached, right? They weren't freestanding.
No, the action figure.
Yeah.
You could take the action figure off of this grappling hook backpack.
Because that didn't really happen very often in the actual cartoon that we watched, which is really disturbing.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird.
Okay,
it kind of just felt like they were stuck.
Yeah, they had grown into it, or it was fused to their spine. We'll talk about that in a second, but. Okay, so the actual toy, the action figure, was separate from their equipment.
Correct.
Okay, and then the equipment had hooks, or it had physical line within itself that attached the two ends of something.
Yeah. So it had again, this Sky Commanders is what we're talking about,
right?
And this cartoon sort of posits the question: what if everybody moved via grappling hook?
Yes.
And as a child, you're just thinking this is the coolest fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's
not quite. It's if we could break through that jetpack barrier, then we could leave this shit behind. But it's we haven't quite mastered jetpacks, but we have exhausted the possibilities of ropes, and we are at the pinnacle of rope technology, and this is what we've got.
It's if you were playing Bionic Commando for the NES,
yes,
and you're just okay, cool, bionic arm, but for some reason this fucker can't jump. Right. Followed by grappling hook and then jetpack. That's the order of progression that every kid must have wanted.
That's the evolution of locomotion of action hero toys and cartoon. You basically want to get to the point where you don't have to physically do anything, but all your equipment does everything for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're pretty close to this one.
What it had was kind of like a zip line that would come out of the large backpack piece that the character would clip into. It had one of those plastic
the clips that always
was
broke
in the middle that you would just kind of put you'd stick them with their waist into it, and then inevitably, like you said, something would snap and you'd be like, wow, this thing's
the end of this story. Yep.
Oh boy. But yeah, it had that, and then the other thing that we saw in the cartoon was sort of these pieces that they had that were on their wrist.
Yeah. Almost
And
like a backup. Yeah.
It had that, and that was actually attached, like, it came off so you could hang it from something, but then, like, the bungee string that it had was attached in the character's arms, so they could, like, swing or grapple or do other things. But the challenge was that the action figures were, like, they were, I think they were a little bit smaller than G.I. Joe.
Oh, okay.
And if you, like, took that piece off of the control panel, and you could kind of see that, it's sort of like like Leela from Futurama, sort of like the wrist computer that she has.
Right.
If you were to put, like, a bungee cable underneath it
Right.
and have it raised slightly, that's what we're talking about, just for visual reference for everybody. And so if you took that piece off of your character, it was a nightmare to thread it back around.
Oh,
it was just like, it was one of those things where, like, you did it once and you're just like, oh shit, it's never gonna go back in.
You just wrap it around their arm. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess this guy's just always grappling, like,
forever grappling.
And I'm grappling with the idea of this never being perfect again. Which
this sounds like something that I definitely would have loved, because I just had, like, the bootleg, like, roll of kite string that I would just string all across my room, and then just have G.I. Joes or turtles or whatever just, like, slide down it. So this was, like, tailor made for me, but I don't think I ever had one. I definitely didn't watch the cartoon. Definitely didn't watch the cartoon.
I had kitchen twine.
Yeah, exactly. Kitchen twine. I had kite string, whatever I had laying around. I think I had at one point I had, like, phone wire or something, just weird shit laying all over the place.
Foam wire?
Yeah, I just had, like, I'd strip the plastic off of, like, old phone cables and just have wire everywhere. Because I made bases. Like, I made bases for the good guys and bad guys. Yeah.
Right.
Because that's what you do when you're an only child. All right, so Sky Commanders. You want to give us a little history about what this thing was supposed to be, or not what it's about, but how it got started?
Sure. So Sky Commanders is an animated television series made by Hanna-Barbera with the co-production of Toei Animation. It premiered in 1987 as a part of the fantastic world of Hanna-Barbera and lasted for 13 episodes. It was based on the action figure line from Kenner Toys.
There you go. Toys and Cartoons. 1987. Here's where shit gets crazy. Like, it sounds pretty good so far, right? It's just basically like G.I. Joes with primitive proto jetpacks, grappling hook. That sounds cool. Whoever decided to, like, build this insane backstory for Sky Commanders, I mean, I love it, but it's completely insane. So try to stick with me here for the synopsis.
You mean the synopsis, aka the theme song for this show?
Also the theme song, yeah. So we're going to rehash a lot of this in the theme song. So the storyline of Sky Commanders comprises the daily adventures of a multiracial group of soldiers and mountaineering specialists. You good so far?
Yep. From
all over the world, who battle the evil General Lucas Plague and his goon squad of villainous mercenaries and miscreants, the Raiders, whose aim is to seize control of the planet. The series is set on a new continent, deep I think it's deep in, like, the southern Pacific, and it's known as the High Frontier. It was created by the emergence to the surface world of a new and powerful, unstable radioactive element called Phaeta 7. We still good here? We got a new continent in the middle of the South Pacific.
Check.
It was because of a unstable radioactive element that forced it to the Earth.
Check.
And it's called the High Frontier.
Check.
Here we go. Travel throughout the new continent is only possible by means of high-altitude flight, or by means of using laser cables, a specialized version of repelling cord emitted from combat backpacks worn by both Raiders and Sky Commanders. So you literally have a tailor-made continent that is only accessible by the 14 or 15 people that have this technology. This is one of the more bonkers backstories I think we've ever seen.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that the entire idea behind this is that new continent, radioactive element that everybody's trying to get, because as we're going to say in the theme song, if you possess Phaeta 7, it has the ability to allow you to conquer the planet.
Doesn't really explain how.
Nope.
Just is
it doesn't give you
happen.
Any how or why. It's just, if you get it, because like,
planet ruler.
It really is like an if this, then that. Yep. And so it's sort of crazy that for all of this stuff and for all of the potential world domination that surrounds this, the stakes of this show, they really have just been like, you know what? every country has a military and helicopters, but guys, don't worry about it. We have combat backpacks with oh no, there's raiders in there? You know what? Let's send in our own multiracial team of people to take care of this.
Everybody gets one. Except America, you can have like 4, but everybody else gets 1. It's like, I don't know, like Ireland, you can probably send like a lady. Australia, you get 1 guy. Jamaica, for some reason, you get 1 guy.
Yeah.
The Russians.
This is the weirdest United Nations that we've ever seen.
It's really strange, guys.
Well, and I want to say kudos to them for in 87 being like, we could put a multiracial league together that are all good guys, because all the bad guys are just like straight up Caucasian.
Yeah, they really are, and they're not like defined by anything. Like they don't come from anywhere. They're not all German. They're not any kind of Asian. They're not Soviets. There's actually a Soviet good guy who's on the Sky Commanders team.
So we've got all of these multicultural people who are there, and I feel like the reason that they picked those cultures is because they were very easily stereotyped
and poorly accented, like poorly done by not native speakers.
I had to listen to a couple of these accents multiple times to be like, A, what are they saying? B, where the fuck are they from?
Red is my favorite. And
Southern Ireland.
Southern Ireland.
Southern fucking Ireland.
Native speaker. Red McCullough.
Yeah.
Oh boy. This is if you
I
guys
love
out there love or hate accents, you are going to hate or love this episode tonight.
Oh Christ.
Sean gets to do his Jamaican accent though.
I'm not doing a Jamaican accent.
You get to do 1 line in Jamaican accent, and it's the best worst line of the entire episode.
You're gonna have to feed me that line.
I'll
because
feed it to you. I wrote so many of them down because I didn't care about the plot, because it's just like action, action, action. But the quotes were amazing. All right, we'll get into the characters in a second. Let's jump into that theme song.
All right.
It is not a theme song.
It's not a theme song.
It is a history lesson.
This is fun because as we've said, you know, if you're trying to sell the toy, you're also trying to sell the world building that comes along with it.
Yeah, and
you're trying to sell, which is so much fun. And it's helpful because I'm sure that they probably set out on this journey and they were like, we're just going to do this initial 13 that Hanna-Barbera wants to do. We'll see where it goes from there. But we should also probably have like a nice little reminder at the beginning of every episode to be like, hey, remember all the work that we did on this backstory? I feel like, as a writer myself, I feel like this is one of those sly ways to be like, hey guys, remember how fucking creative I was when I put together all this shit?
Remember when I created a new continent for you guys?
Yeah. Don't you lose sight of it. Don't you lose sight of it.
8th wonder of the world right there.
Yeah.
This hellscape, which is just like an aggro crag on steroids. This is one of the worst places in the world.
I'm sorry. I need to get into the fact that for this entire continent, all right, it is completely unstable. There is not a part of this continent that actually could be inhabitable for humans for evidently more than 24 hours.
Anywhere from 30 seconds to 24 hours.
Right.
This thing will just crumble under your feet. And they literally employ a quote unquote like seismologist to just check how stable whatever area they happen to be in. There's also things like acid bogs. There's a bunch of weird creatures everywhere.
New creatures.
And apparently the whole place is like radioactive because of this Phaeta 7. So that's interesting.
So you'd have to think that you need like radiologists to be able to identify some of this stuff.
Yeah, and like actual suits, need, like, not just combat backpacks, like radiation-proof suits or Geiger counters at least.
Like zoologists for all of the new creatures, like even somebody who's maybe interested in like cryptids, like things that like, you know, may exist, like we're not sure, you know, but like this is the prime place for like a Jersey Devil to just suddenly show the fuck up, and like you have no idea. So many weird things, and you would want a geologist because this is the land where we're claiming this is a new continent.
Yes,
this is a new continent, and we are exploring this because we are trying to get this radioactive element so that we can control the world, so that we can rule the planet Earth. And in no way, shape, or form can you even set foot. I guess what I'm having a hard time with, Dave, and maybe you can help me out.
Probably not.
Books. Maybe you can help me out here, Books.
I'll try.
All right.
Ooh, my calculations suggest that they will only be stable for the next 30 seconds, but perhaps less.
Oh, God. So what qualification has to happen where you're just like, yep, new continent, Like I thought that it would have to actually be like land that would be permanent for more than 24 hours.
I think the thing is that
that's what I thought my qualification is for continent.
It seems like it's kind of always shifting though. Like it's always kind of rising or like kind of sublimating. If you talk about like tectonic plates, there's sort of sublimation where one slides under the other or goes on top of the other, and that happens, but over like eons.
Right.
Like, obviously, the reason that we get earthquakes for the most part is when two plates are kind of rubbing against each other at a friction point, or there's one that kind of slips and kind of springs. But that usually happens over like huge time periods. This thing posits that like there's a radioactive element. It like rose through the crust of the earth and kind of made this almost like a sandcastle, like a death sandcastle. So like parts of it will rise and be created while other parts are falling and crumbling, and it's not very steady. It's insane. But what I love about this is that they clearly were like, well, we've got this toy where it's just grappling hooks. So that's what are we gonna do with that? Like anywhere else,
it's what every 80s kid wants.
Exactly, and it's great. It's a toy. It's a toy property and cartoon that's just built around grappling hooks, and I love it. But they're like, well, we're not gonna be in a city because you could just like fly helicopters, tanks, motorcycles, whatever. We need some place where you can only access it through grappling hooks. So I love the idea of like mountain climbing, mountaineering, rappelling, rope climbing. But this is like to the extreme, both the landscape itself and the way that they get around. And it's completely insane, but I love that they just go like whole hog into it. It's probably my favorite thing about this entire cartoon, which is good because it's the only thing it's based around.
Right. It's amazing to think that if you were like a mountaineer or a climber or like a rappeller at any point, and with very few other qualifications, you don't actually even need those qualifications. No. You could have just been Irish or a surfer.
Or can read books.
Right. And so it's the idea that, they were putting people into this and with the idea of, hey, we need you to explore this continent that was made by a radioactive element. Yep. All right. But also at the same time, please find that radioactive element for us. Also, you're always going to be close to death.
Yeah. Either from gravity or from that radioactive element or from these weird guys who like purple and green and call themselves raiders. There's a lot of weird stuff.
Let's say this. That purple and green combo, it's a nice look. At least that squad talked about color coordination. Right. They got it on lock.
That's right.
Looking real good. Squad goals 100%.
Looking real good. You guys are also looking a lot more aerodynamic than our Sky Commanders team, who are just like a bunch of weird block people.
They are like red, white, and blue, which is weird to have a multicultural
like primary colors. Yeah.
Right, but it's like yellow, like on like their combat backpacks.
Yeah.
Like a majority of their like clothing and their helmets are like red, white, and blue, and then every once in a while they've got like a little like yellow arm cuff, like some type of like a piece over their shoulder, like it's a weird shoulder pad. And then that's kind of it. And then they got like these orange brown, like poop brown backpacks that just fucking shoot red lasers out of them.
And I love. Okay, so the difference between like the cartoon and the and the toys is that the people can at least detach themselves from these crazy things and be actual people. Whereas in the cartoon, you just see them walking around with these hulking monstrosities fused to their backs the entire time. There's a couple instances where, they do leave and they are like disconnected from them. But for the most part, not really. Not really. They're stuck.
But I mean, you would have to think that unless they're in this like enormous spaceship that they have that they travel around in, why would you ever take these things off?
True.
I mean, they're
so comfortable like zipping around in these things that it's just like it's just second nature to them at this point.
And it really feels like, and maybe it's a credit to whoever designed these suits for them. Yeah. I'm not saying the people who designed the cartoons. I'm simply saying that like whatever material was used looks like it's fucking fiberglass in weight because they are jumping using zero momentum off of a zip line. And then in midair, they're just like targeting a new thing, shooting a new line and just zipping down that.
Dude,
you're like, well,
so much fun though.
Oh God, it looks like one of those like fun retreats that you would go on where you're just like, we're all ziplining, right?
Yeah, but like without that weird harness that cinches your nuts, like a great like it doesn't crush the life out of you. You can just sit back in like a lazy boy recliner that shoots lasers that once they hit something, then they'll turn into like metal cable.
Honestly, I have no idea how this multicultural team is just not all American, because like nothing would be better than adventures in a new continent while zipping around in danger on a fucking lazy boy.
Yeah, just sipping your 7-Eleven Big Slurpee right there.
Just hitting a single button that shoots one laser.
Yeah. Or hotwire. You can also hotwire, which is like your express laser, and you have to shout hotwire whether you're a good guy or a bad guy.
Ooh, those plants don't seem to like his hotwire.
I don't like that hotwire. Do you have anything else from the theme song, which is essentially just the synopsis repeated?
No, I mean, I think in terms of like setting the stage for something that is fun and also batshit, it does a great job of saying like, who do I care about? Right. Who are the villains? Right. What are they fighting over? I didn't hear Phaeta 7 originally as the isotope. Okay. I heard Beta 7.
Yeah, it sounds similar, but I've read Phaeta 7 elsewhere because it sounds a little fancier, I guess.
Yeah.
We just talk like, come on. Mike Summit leads the mountaineering team.
Yeah, let's get into these characters.
Guys. And then General Lucas Plague. If you name your child Lucas Plague, you're basically damning him to become a supervillain when he grows up.
I feel like that's a pen name for him.
Oh, you think so? I think his name was like what do you think his name was?
James Klondike.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
So he was like super into mountaineering and stuff, but then he got that scar over his eye, and he's like, "Well, I'm a villain now."
Yeah, or just Theodore Roundhouse.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
He was the son of that guy from that movie.
You get weird characters that are on here like Mordax.
Just like,
which is like this
weird. Just what is that name, Mordax?
I don't know.
I want to say something real quick from the theme song though, as we get into these characters, because we'll talk about them in a second. But as they're showing like these action shots of the guys zipping all around the mountainous regions that just crumble apart, there's like these weird moments where there's just a superimposed image of one of the heroes.
Yeah.
It's just like huge. Like he takes up the full screen and he's just staring off into space and smiling weirdly. And you're just like, the fuck is this guy?
Who the fuck is this guy?
Nowhere. And they don't introduce him. They introduce him pretty well in the show, I thought, for the most part. Which, I mean, the bad guys, there's like 5 of them. Most of them got named. I think only one of them did not. For the good guys, there's 9 of these idiots running around. There's 9.
Oh, God.
And they introduce most of them, but like, come on. You don't need 9. You don't need it. Not to start. Start with like 5 and then work in the other guys later.
And you have to think, though, also from like a toy line that, one of the big things for a lot of these toys is that, you have like one mold. You have one mold for like the body, and you have a new mold for like the head, and you have like a third mold, or like for their head and their arms is another mold. Right. Their body is a separate mold, and then you have a third mold that you would use for like any equipment. Everybody's got different fucking equipment in this show. Like everybody was just like, oh, I really want to be a unique snowflake, so give me what looks like a pneumatic tube, and I want to put my body inside of it.
That's right.
Like it's a little jetpack hoverboard piece,
and I
just want to blast around in this pneumatic tube all fucking day. I
want a king's throne, and I want to be the king.
Oh God!
I will tell you this though, I guarantee you that Dr. Erica Slade and Red McCullough had the same mold, and I bet you that Kodiak and Mordax had the same mold too. Because they're basically like the ladies and then the big dumb meatheads. But everybody else might have been similar. But yeah, their equipment was all different. Do you want to run through the bad guys since there's relatively few of them? We already talked General Lucas Plague.
Yeah.
We briefly mentioned Dr. Erica Slade. She's the lady.
Erica Slade.
Yeah. How do you feel about Mordax?
We have Mordax. Just big dumb goofball.
Big dumb dummy.
Actually, I feel bad for him because other raiders are talking shit about him
while he's carrying like a 400-pound piece of equipment. Like, maybe don't piss the big bull off, Like,
he's doing work and other people are just kind of walking around complaining about him. I'm like, maybe just wait until he puts it down.
Or maybe like help him with it, even if you're not really doing anything. At least you're helping a guy.
Also, you guys have these jetpacks that like whiz around with everything. Why are you carrying anything?
Do you not have forklifts?
Why are you carrying fucking anything?
Just put it on your little whiz bang throne. Put it on there and hotwire it on over into the ship. Come on, guys.
Every GD thing on the back of you assholes is a glider with a little like a clamp.
Yeah.
With like a little like
clamp.
robot clamp hand. Just fuck.
Yeah, poor Mordax.
I mean, yeah,
He's
you
the
know
burden.
what? He deserves to be made fun of. He had every possible fucking tool given to him, and he done fucked it up by carrying it around with his human hands. Yeah.
Well, you know who made fun of him mostly? It was Raider Wrath.
Raider Wrath, which, come on. If you are a raider and your job title has to be before your name.
And your name's Wrath as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, Writer Dave. Yep. It's a complicated thing to have Writer Dave.
It is.
And so
it's a weird birth certificate. Speaking of weird birth certificates, Krieg. I don't think he was actually mentioned.
And if he was, I just have to assume he was just one of the other bozos in purple and green,
because there's only 5
around in the background.
There's only 5.
Yeah, and that's it.
All right, so let's talk about Sky Commander. So we got Commander Mike Summit.
Man,
damn this name.
Just correct me if you had a different feeling, but he is just like every goober leader.
Yeah. He's a little more of he's got a little more of a militaristic edge kind of to him. Like I picture that this guy probably was like a veteran of some actual military service. Like he wasn't like a Cyclops where he was like schoolboy trying to lead people. He was more like a drill sergeant because he's kind of a hard ass and kind of an asshole at times.
Yeah,
but he was okay for the leader. He was fine.
Guys, I'm open to options if anybody has a suggestion.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stand here and get pierced by cave crystals while one of you jagoffs figures out how to get us out of here.
Oh god.
Give me one of your favorites, or just another person.
So I love Red McCullough.
You love Red McCullough?
As one ginger to another, I would be remiss if I didn't say that I love the other ginger. She just has just an incredibly deep Southern Irish accent, and it is just it's equal parts enjoyable and infuriating to listen to.
The thing that bugged me most about her, and it wasn't her fault, it was the writers, was that she literally, the only thing she did, she had one redeeming act in this scene, or in this cartoon. But the only thing she did was ride the ass of basically like their youngest member, their rookie, more or less. Which I don't know how long these idiots have been zipping around on these laser cables, but apparently this guy is somewhat newer, and that's RJ. And he's kind of like half cowboy, half surfer, because he makes references to both. So like pick one. But he's basically like the goofball, the Michelangelo cowabunga guy that, kind of skates by the skin of his teeth, but he doesn't really like want to actually do the work. Well, she just rides him the entire time. And actually, probably when they take their uniforms off, she's still riding him, but we don't really get to see that. I mean, they have good chemistry.
They do. I mean, I would not say no to that interaction happening.
I totally ship it.
Show. Yeah. Oh, you shipping it?
I ship it.
I ship it. So it's, I don't know. It's interesting. But
that's their dynamic. That's just what they do.
Right. Yeah. So you also mentioned we have RJ Scott. Surfer Cowboy. He's the guy who's in the weird throne, kind of like lazy boy pneumatic tube that floats around.
It's very nimble. Very nimble.
Did you have a favorite?
Everybody else was
or simply one that we just didn't mention. Yeah, exactly. Yet.
Like everybody else here, we'll talk about one more guy. The rest of them pretty much had like one line.
Yeah.
It's between Kodiak and Books for me.
Yeah,
because Kodiak was kind of just like, he's the big dumb guy that was just kind of like grinning off into space in the intro theme song, which was just like, what?
Why?
But he's kind of the muscle for the good guys side, but they don't really use him that way. He's just kind of there. So, but he's fine. Books was cool. He has kind of this like very refined, almost British accent, and he is their technological advisor for all things having to do with seismology and man-eating fly traps. So Books was fun.
It's just I love the idea that in this show where they are all adventurers, that there's still some kind of like a jock mentality or a hierarchy where they're just like, look at this idiot, he can fucking read. What's he read? But that's your name, Books. Your nickname is Books.
My name is actually Brian Baxter. No, your name's Books.
Yeah, right.
I'm American. I'm in charge of this. Your name's Books.
Settle down, Books.
So the other guys, we've got this guy's name is Cutter Kling.
Yeah.
Terrible name. We'll tell you what happens to him. He only has one fun thing that happens to him.
He dies right
I thought he did. I thought he actually died.
I did too.
I was like, holy shit. No wonder they had 9 guys to start, because they killed one of them. We've got the Soviet named Yuri. We've got an Australian named Spider Riley, which you you barely hear from. You hear like 1 or 2 lines from him. You've got a Jamaican guy named Stryker, who you hear literally 1 line, I think, from him. We're going to let Sean do that later.
No.
But that's pretty much it. If you can keep track of all of them, good luck, because I sure as hell couldn't. I had to go back and read like character descriptions for all these guys. They do a decent job of trying to introduce them. Yeah, go ahead.
There's actually one great shot that they have where it's like a door opens and it's like it's all 7 of them getting ready to like do battle.
Yeah, but only 7.
Like, only 7, and then there's just like 2 that are like stowed away somewhere else, and they're like 7 is
Seven's a great look because you've got that one, you've got your leader in the center, and you've got your 3 guys like wings on either side. But then they're just like, well, shit, we still got 2 guys up in the pile in the cockpit, so we should probably get them into the action.
I love the idea that they just got rid of like 2 other guys that were like, hey, we're trying to do a tableau here, so
just fuck all.
If you 2 goons can just bounce for like 3 seconds, we just got to get this real tight 7 shot going on.
Yeah, just come join us later. The screen's literally not wide enough to accommodate 9 people on zip lines. Maybe you should have thought of that before greenlighting a cartoon.
But like a majority of the first part of this episode where they're doing battle with like the raiders, there's just like shit tons of people.
It's crazy. And they like, you might wonder how like the lines actually work, the zip lines. I don't know, because there's no like physical lines. They have some like backup lines, like Sean was mentioning, from the wrist. They do have like physical emergency lines, E-lines they call them. But the main ones just shoot like this metal tip, and it's a laser line that doesn't actually exist until it hits anchor points on either side. And then it forms like an actual line. But then what? Does it disappear? Because they can just shoot another one, no problem.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with that because like at no point does it really say like do they have like a finite number of these ropes that they can shoot? But it is a non-physical. It is a metaphysical rope.
Yeah.
It is a metaphysical rope that shoots, that only becomes a physical tangible object when it hits those anchor points. And then it's just like, oh, you're safe.
It's like Schrodinger's rope. Like if you try to observe it, it does not exist. But if you don't observe it, then it may exist, and you may be able to zip line on your combat backpack. I love this cartoon, man. I just love that idea. And they don't even think about it. They shoot a line, they zip in, and if they don't like it, they just switch to another one at the flick of a zip line.
Yeah. Or if somebody's falling, they shoot like a bunch of zip lines like under them, and then they snag them with their
little hooks, their little plastic clippy things.
Hooks that they have that are on top.
I don't physically know how most of these things work because they are flipping from one thing to the next. But it's a great action sequence. Like it works really, really well for these action sequences because it's something different. It's not good guys running in and driving in, bad guys running up and shooting lasers, and everybody missing everybody. It's a really cool action sequence.
You get some really wide vista shots where you see all of these different lines like kind of going through some of this new continent
as it's crumbling around them.
That does not feel like it's going to be new for very long. It feels like everything that's in this is just about ready to be destroyed anyway, so but it's them just like having these giant like highfalutin zipline battles, which is a challenge in and of itself, because you would think like on a zipline battle, as long as you fucking shoot straight,
you should be good.
Like you're guaranteed to hit something.
Because they're stuck on that line.
Yeah, because you're stuck. Like everybody's stuck on the same. Like villains are on the same lines as the good guys, barreling towards them very early in this first episode. We have all of our multicultural league, exploring everything. They shoot a bunch of zip lines into a rock, begin to zip line down into it, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, like, oh no, it's breaking up. So they so we have our leader, our fearless leader, drop down, shoot another hook, another line. Everybody drops down with their hooks onto it, and they're just like, "Oh, good shooting." I'm just like, you fuckers are just like, you all have this capability, like you all have this power.
I don't know why you're riding on his line.
Get off the fucking line.
I think it's to show that he's the leader, but he does take them pretty much right into danger because the raiders kind of get an ambush on them.
Right.
Let's pause for a second. Let's say you're a new recruit. We've got Sky Commander 2.0. You're a new recruit. You're going into your first battle. What are your tactics? You've got, all right, here's what you got. Combat backpack, right? You've got sweet a bunch of laser guns on your combat backpack. Sometimes you got like bombs or missiles that you can just drop. You can't fire them apparently, but
you just hold them in your hands.
You hold them in your hands and you push them gently over the side. So that makes sense.
Oh god.
Not a whole lot of armor because you're pretty much exposed. So what's your tactic?
Well, if I've learned anything from being recruited to a part of this elite,
you were drafted, but that's fine.
Zipline, being drafted into this elite zipline force. I'm just gonna trust my gut.
Okay.
I'm gonna trust my old gut. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like somebody might have something to say about that, but.
Well, yeah, I know, but she's gonna get snippy one way or another.
You know what she might say, old Red McCullough? She might say, Jesus. Cut the daredevil, and surely it won't do us any good if your hot dog and gets us all killed.
And if I was a surfer, I'd be like, little hot dog and never did anybody any bad. Oh, brah, shaka. Throw up the shaka.
Yeah, I did.
Jesus.
And then later on, the shocker. Anyway, we're going to get into some of these accents now. It's going to be bad. But no, I love it because the fighting tactics are either just like barrel into each other, throw a line right next to the guy so you do like a weird like Akira Kurosawa pass in the middle of the night and see if one guy flinches. Or you just spin around on your line and just shoot the guy in the back. It's just any one of those tactics works well. Or get above them on your more stable laser grid, whatever that was, and push missiles down on them. That's fun too.
Yeah.
Great toys.
Because as we've already identified that, we have like these hulking brutes on each team. Right. And they're going to carry stuff back and forth, but be criticized for it. But in a battle, you should just carry heavy munitions just on a zip line that probably other people are riding on as well that are also taking laser fire because there's only really... It's unidirectional in terms of where people are firing. Right. And you're also... We've mentioned this. You're basically wearing a backpack on a fucking zip line with no fucking armor on. So
backpack to boot,
Yeah, exactly. So... carrying a bomb is a great fucking plan.
All right, how do you feel about hotwires? It's like a special kind of version of your zip line.
I like the idea that they can on their little on their arm control panel, they can press a button and everything gets hotwired. And it looks like the line actually gets radioactive,
it's
which
like
I was like, is that a result? Yeah, but then regardless of the direction you're going, your velocity speeds up.
Which I don't know why I don't just use that all the time, but it's
also
cool.
At the same time, I'm like, how much more can you improve on gravity? Like, you're already wearing heavy ass dumb backpacks zipping down these lines.
Combat backpack.
Yeah, combat backpacks. And so like, how much are you just like, oof, regular physics are pretty much the same. We need to improve on this.
Hotwire.
It's hotwire. But they can't do the action without saying the catchphrase.
No, that's how it's activated. It's a voice activated hotwire.
No, it's activated by the button,
but
Dave.
You have to voice unlock it.
Hotwire.
Good guys and bad guys, which I found interesting. Insane. Because that means they're probably getting their tech from like the same guy who's just like raking in boatloads of cash.
Yeah, like who is black market selling combat backpacks?
I don't know, but he's only selling 14, 15 of them at a shot.
Yeah, this is not a great business plan for him.
No, because they're indestructible at this point. All right.
They just don't see that. They never, nothing, regardless of what happens and the problems that they encounter on these zip lines, nothing ever clogs or backs up.
Never runs out.
And nothing seems to ever really truly get damaged.
Yeah, they never run out of lines. Everything's fine.
If you were to put a price on these combat backpacks, Dave, how much would you say one combat backpack costs?
I would say it's priceless because I take that two ways. One, it's worthless. Two, because it doesn't exist and would never work. Two, like you can't put a price on it, which is how the DoD operates because they're so expensive, but they save lives, so priceless.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that defense actually does put a number because when they bill a contractor, they're just like, you need to give us an actual tangible price. You can't draw a symbol. That's an infinity symbol. I'm not paying you infinity dollars.
Here's our list for things that are priceless.
Oh, God.
Sky's the limit. Each one of these things, since they're friggin' custom made, are probably more than an exosuit from Exo Squad.
Oh, man.
And that was in the future, so this is like $1987.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna put a price tag of like $10 million for each
Oh,
one of these dumb backpacks.
That's it? Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Hold on.
$10 million for a lazy boy with lasers, a laser boy, and missiles that shoots non-existent zip
It doesn't really shoot. I'm the one carrying the missiles in many cases.
Well, it drops missiles.
Oh.
It holds missiles until you drop them.
Okay.
And then once they're gone, you can put like a 6-pack in there. But and then it shoots
pretty chill.
metaphysical zip lines that don't exist until they hit something, and then they are the most secure line you'll ever have, unless the continent happens to be breaking apart.
Oh, okay.
You think only 10 million? I feel like maybe 10 million for construction, but the R&D that went into this is easily in the tens of billions.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Price.
I mean, I'm just assuming the way that they handle and treat these things that they're just like a dime a fucking dozen. Like you could just go to a Target and just pick one up next to
Sky Commanders. They don't
picture
care.
frames. Yeah, right.
All right, so let's jump back into this. So I mean, plot doesn't really mean anything in this episode. They have a fight. The Sky Commanders retreat, supposedly. The Raiders think they've won. Lucas Plague, super thrilled. Yeah.
So let's talk. You bring up a great point, Dave. Can you explain to me the Sky Commanders' tactics?
Not really.
And how they're doing this?
Not particularly, because there's 9 of them, and there's only 5 of the Raiders. But somehow the Raiders like get the drop on them and start beating them. So the Commanders retreat. You know, Summit orders a retreat. The rest of the guys are like, retreat? He's like, yeah, fine. And one of them, who was it? Was it Cutter? Breaker? One of the guys is like, I don't know why we're retreating. We're going to look like a bunch of cowards. He's like, I don't care if you believe it. We just need them to believe it. So in other words, it's a ruse. They're retreating so that they can then follow the Raiders back to their hideout, which whatever. It didn't even bother me that it made 0 sense because I was just like, that was a cool action scene. Let's see what happens next. I bet it doesn't involve man-eating plants.
I bet it does.
Does it? What doesn't this next little sequence involve?
Well, you're introduced to a quick sequence which sort of shows the Sky Commander's giant base that they have, and that it seems like for some reason that I would consider killing time, that they show them sort of like on a quick training mission.
Yeah, they just let their hair down a little bit. Old Red and RJ.
Where they sort of just go out and sort of shoot around with some of these grapple lasers for just like maybe a minute.
Oh yeah, they're like testing. They're testing like a bomb on a line, which doesn't work, and then hot wires, which kind of works too well.
Yeah, because they've screamed it now in your face like 5 times, but they just want to be like, we want to make sure you understand exactly what hot wire is and what it does, because this is really not going to be that important later.
The cool thing was though that the toy actually had a metal end on the line that you could just pop into an electrical outlet, and then you automatically had a hot wire. It was a really cool feature.
Kids, if you're playing in your garage, attach to a car battery.
Yep. One end to the car battery, other end, paperclip, electrical outlet. Please don't do that.
Get your parents' car keys, open up their car door. There's a little switch that's down at the bottom left, wherever their left foot would be, that is for the hood of the car. Do that. There's a little safety trigger that you got to clip it together. You got to pinch it together. Pinch it. Lift the car. Lift the hood up. There's the battery. It's probably down on the right hand side.
It's called a combat backpack battery.
Combat backpack battery. So you got to get these things, kid.
Yeah.
This is hey, you looking to be cool? Got to get that combat backpack battery.
Combat backpack battery.
Yeah, right.
I can't wait to go as a Sky Commander for Halloween one year and just have someone wheel me around because the thing is so cumbersome. All right, so we've got a weird training mission. We've got RJ and like virtual reality training for some reason, complaining about the whole thing. And Red's standing there looking at his package, complaining about him. But then, all right, so we go on this mission where they're going to infiltrate the headquarters of the Raiders. It's actually called what? Assault on Raider Squadron or Raider HQ, something like that. The name of the episode. Raider Stronghold. Assault on Raider Stronghold. That's the first one that we watched. So you would think that they would just go in, they'd have another fight. No, they go in and they find like this crazy world of like overgrown giant plants, man-eating plants. Spoiler alert, Cutter actually gets eaten by one of them, and I thought he was straight dead.
Yeah, I really thought he was
because
dead.
this thing clamped down on him and he was gone.
They really our intrepid and leader Mike Summit is just like, he pulls out a blaster and he's just like, I'm just gonna shoot this fucking thing.
Even before that though, everybody was just like, well, he's gone. They're just like, he's done. We went to a commercial break and he's still not here. So yeah, I love it. He went up and he tried to like force the fangs of this Venus flytrap open first with just like brute strength, and then he tried to just blast it open with a laser. Who was it? Books and Yuri, I think, came over and were just like, all right, chill out a second.
Books is like, if you do this and he falls out, he's gonna fall right into the acid bath below. Yeah. And I was like, wait, or the acid bog. Acid bog. And I was like, wait, when the fuck did we get an acid? You know what? Sure shit.
It's the aggro crag. This place is literally the continent of the aggro crag.
Yeah.
Worst possible things that could happen here. Like, what else do we have? So eventually, well, go ahead.
Well, I do want to say this, is that the entire time that that we have one of our heroes trapped inside of the mouth of this Venus flytrap, everybody is making unnecessary vegetable jokes.
Oh my god, this is where you get to do your Jamaican.
They're just like, yeah. Just and they're just criticizing him. So feed me the line, and I want to do the.
All right, this is Stryker, and he says maybe if he would have eaten his vegetables when he was a kid, they wouldn't have tried to eat him.
Maybe if he would have eaten his vegetables when he was a kid, they wouldn't try to eat him.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, man. Yeah, man, they just do the worst job of like and you think you have a teammate in crisis and you are all on fucking zip
also,
lines.
he's being eaten by a giant plant. Show a little surprise, if not concern.
There are other plants that are around you. Like, you have the potential to now get eaten, and everybody is just sitting there like, I'm on a zip line. Fuck it, I'm in a lazy boy.
I'm just gonna hotwire that son of a bitch if he comes near me. Woo!
Yeah, right. Summit's like the only one that's like, I'm gonna go take care of this. Like, I'm gonna go rescue him. But of course, he does, and he does it by putting his hotwire into the mouth of this plant and like electrocuting it.
Electrocutes it. It opens up like one of the aliens, like one of the xenomorph aliens.
Like the pods that they're like little eggs.
It just kind of grossly opens up and looks like some sort of genitalia. But anyway, they drag Cutter back out of it. He's totally fine. And then they just go on about their merry way. But they have a warning. Yeah. They're like, look, we got the acid bogs down there. We got these creepy man-eating plants. Who knows what else is living in here? But Books has a whole bunch of like bio readings or whatever. So there's other creatures that are in there. They're like, you should probably stay near the ceiling. Well, which hotshot decides he doesn't want to stay near the ceiling?
Oh, of course. It is our surfer buddy. We've got RJ, who's like, woo, I'm just going to go down near where the water is, where you have like what looks like an albino crocodile jumping out. You've got all this other stuff.
Tentacles,
and then suddenly you've got purple tentacle porn coming out trying to grab him.
He's kicking at him like a little dick.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have minded if Cutter died because we didn't know him at all. I really would have preferred it if RJ died.
Rest in peace, Cutter.
Rest in peace, Cutter, and that you plant food. Should have eaten your vegetables when you were a kid. Which I love is like a terrible PSA to kids watching the show to eat your vegetables.
So
Give
silly.
me a break. So, of course, Red's yelling at him from behind, which is how they do it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he gets attacked by a tentacle monster, basically like a kraken in the acid bog. I don't even remember how they got away from this.
Who comes to his rescue?
I don't know, because it didn't matter.
I mean, it was just, I thought it was Red just shooting another laser at it, and it immediately retreats, to which she's just like, hey, stop dicking around. Like, what are you doing? Knock it off.
Yeah, literally all she says to him, you heard Books, RJ. Hug the ceiling. That's it. That was before he got attacked by the kraken porn.
Oh my god.
It's real bad.
So they get into the base where Plague should have been, and Plague was smart enough to sort of see through this ruse that they had, and he is packing up, and they're getting the fuck out of there.
Which I appreciate.
You know why?
You don't see that too often from villains that are actually like somewhat smart.
You don't. And the nice thing about this is that he's getting the fuck out of there because he also knows that this continent really doesn't stay stable for more than 24 fucking hours. Right. So he's like, we gotta bounce. Like, I don't understand why he built a base in the first place with all this technology and computers in there. And then he was just like, guys, we got to get out of here. I've made some grave errors in judgment.
Look, team, Raiders, great job getting the space constructed and refined and all cleaned up in 23 and a half hours. Unfortunately, it's going to crumble into an acid bog in the next 30 minutes, so we're going to have to get out of here. Mordax, pick up the heavy shit and move it.
Yeah. Let's now make fun of Mordax.
Logistics, not their strong point.
God.
But they had time to set a shitload of traps. That's neat.
Oh, did they?
Oh, boy.
Because let me tell you about water. it's the natural enemy of a laser grappling hook.
I love that he was like, isn't there some way to turn this off? I was like, it's fucking water. Like, it's not coming out of a tap. It's water.
Yeah, find the faucet, guys.
Find the giant faucet for this waterfall. But it's crazy. They get into this cave, and I think they literally ask Books, like, how stable is it? And he gives one of the best lines because it made zero sense. And he was just like, well, here we go. He's basically like, it might give in 30 seconds, perhaps sooner. I was just like, Books, you're fucking worthless. We're all dead.
Thanks a lot,
Thanks for the heads up. So it doesn't actually collapse or cave in quite yet. So they get doused in this torrential waterfall, which they all freak out, but it only lasts about 5 seconds. But what was the whole point? It wasn't actually to take out the laser cable sky command.
Turns out that the water is a catalyst for sort of like this crystal structure that is inside of the cave that begins to shoot kind of like, I don't know what, because like you have stalactites, stalagmites, but then these are like side stalags.
These are just like side spears that just came out of everywhere. And they're quick growing crystals.
These Britney Spears come out of the fucking wall.
Nailed it.
And they try to stab everybody that's there, and they're growing very slowly.
Well, but quick enough that they can the space that's available to the zipliners, which again you can only move in one straight line, is like fairly quickly being gobbled up, and they're running out of space, and there's no exit. They can't find any exit.
And this is the part where Mike Summit is just like, guys, I'm open to anybody's idea right now. Anybody has a plan? Let's snap into it.
So this is the part where the leader gives up, basically, is what you're saying. Yeah, he's standing there about to be impaled by Britney Spears, and he's just like,
fuck it.
Whatever you guys got, because otherwise we're dead.
Hey, let's look in the suggestion box and see what everybody put in there about how to get out of this predicament.
Well, it's a good thing Red was randomly standing by a wall that got speared open by one of these crystals, because that was like Deus Ex Machina at that point.
We need to just look at the idea of this trope of the heroes did jack shit, and the trap that was set for them ultimately was their savior.
Yes. It was a trap that didn't hurt them, but then opened up a way out. So, not the best.
So thanks,
I guess.
Maybe.
I did have one other line from back when Cutter was trapped in that plant.
Oh, God.
It was from I think it was from Summit himself. He's like, glad to have you back, Cutter, but let's try to avoid any romances with the plant life from now on, okay?
Oh.
It's like the dude just got ate by a plant. He just got eaten up by a plant. He wasn't doing anything.
He just got, and you're being... Look, maybe he had a really sensual time.
I mean, he might have. He didn't give it the bad touch.
Don't know.
That wasn't his fault. If anything, he was the one that should feel violated.
Right.
Summit.
He was taken advantage of. Let's just give him, let's give him a couple minutes. Oh. Yeah, God. Everybody, you know what? Maybe he goes back at the end of this and is romantic with that plant. Maybe they have human Venus flytrap hybrids.
And that's how Swamp Thing was born.
And that's how Swamp Thing. Jesus.
Moral of the story. All right, so they're in like a second cave at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like the larger portion of a cave.
Who knows?
What even happened here? There were like explosions, and then shit caved in, and then there were more lines, and then RJ was a hero. I don't even... What's the point?
Right, so a lot of this is that the entire episode, Red has been riding RJ like real hard, just get real into it. And she's been rather the disciplinarian or the person telling him to take this seriously.
She basically said like when she got that opening into the other cave, she was like, if you wouldn't have been screwing around, maybe you actually would have helped find a way out of this thing like I did. And he's like, whatever, you took care of it, fine.
Yeah. So in this moment, everybody is like, there were explosions that Plague had set up. Everything's exploding. Everybody is now plummeting, which again, you guys all have combat backpacks that shoot laser wire. Everybody has the same fucking tool, except for RJ with his magical floating pneumatic tube throne that's got a rocket pack on the bottom of it. So he shoots around, fires 2 grappling hooks, and everybody doesn't fall with their hook backpack. Everybody grabs it with their arm, and I was just like, well, that's a ripped off arm.
He just shredded a limb.
You guys are carrying a shit ton of fucking weight on.
Well, they did that before with the E line too, where it was like the line was literally attached to the weakest part of your entire body.
It's like, your wrist.
Just rip that shit
your
right
wrist,
out.
the strongest part of your arm.
Just rip those tiny bones right out. Just the hands. There's just severed hands littering this new continent of ours. Just hands everywhere.
It's connected to one of the smallest valleys of nerves in your arm. You're just like, yeah, let's just put a choker on it.
Shred this thing. So then we go back topside, right? And we've got the Raiders. They're all packed up. They're ready to go. And they're like, haha, we finally defeated the Sky Commanders. I'm going to get that Phaeta 7. The world is now mine. Well, since this is the first episode of a show called Sky Commanders, you can probably guess. I thought for a second that they were going to leave it there. But you can probably guess Sky Commanders are going to come busting out and save the day.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
They come out in force.
9 against
ready to
5.
fight.
Super fair.
Yeah.
Super fair, you guys.
Oh, God.
Raiders didn't really put up much of a fight. They just kind of take off at this point.
Yeah, and so they bolt, and in this moment, and we've run into this a couple times, and this is continually frustrating for me to watch, where, again, we have made fun of the fact they have outnumbered the bad guys 9-5. That's almost 2-1 at this point, and so they have every tactical advantage. They have surprise, they have numbers, they have weapons, they have actually slightly different weapons because the bad guys don't have a pneumatic tube thing.
Yeah, they've got like weird wings.
So,
like they're way more aerodynamic, but they don't use it for anything. Like they don't glide really. Just a weird looking thing.
They've got like Starscream backpacks.
Yeah, which looks super awkward when they're trying to walk around because they kind of waddle. Got like a weird Transformer penguin walk thing going.
Oh, I loved the Transformer penguin walk. I was like, this just looks like somebody who got off like riding a horse through
for the first time
the country for the first time. They got that cowboy wobble. It's just like they got those outback legs, and so it's funny to kind of see that all of a sudden we have the good guys in such a commanding position, and I forget, maybe it was, I don't know if it was like Stryker or maybe it was Cutter, and they're pulling out these laser pistols that each of them have, and like Summit's like, no, that's enough adventure for today. I was like, bitch, your fucking life is adventure. You signed up for nothing but adventure. Right. These guys are gonna kill you.
I liked it.
Just go put a bullet in them.
I liked it though, because they were just like, well, we're all out of time for today, so that's enough adventure, kids.
I know.
And that's how the episode.
I'm trying to think of like notable cartoons that we've watched. I know that Dinosaurs was like that, where they apprehended the villains in one episode, and they were just like, "We're gonna let them go." I was like, what the fuck would you do that for?
So you can have 20 more episodes?
You guys have been fighting like a 100,000-year battle against each other. You're just gonna fucking let them go?
They're like,
all right,
without
great.
war, I don't know anything else.
I mean, maybe I guess that soldier's mentality is something that's lost on me, because I've never been like, I gotta fight all the time in order to exist. But
well, you're not cut out to be a Sky Commander 2.0, unfortunately. Burn in your combat backpack.
Anything else?
Drop in an acid bog. I got some other lines here. So we've got Summit had some terrible lines. He calls up. He's like, Kodiak, it's time to go bowling for Raiders. That's when Kodiak dropped missiles on people. When Yuri puts up a stink about not agreeing with Summit's plans, he says, "This isn't a debating team, pal." Pretty bad.
I wrote that down as well.
That's pretty bad. Let's see what else we got. I think that's pretty much it. Books had some good ones, but they're kind of boring. They were just like him reporting like tactical information and stuff, but not great, but not bad. Yeah, what do you got?
I had one thing that we neglected to mention during the intro, and I think that this is probably my last thought on this show, just because it's so it was so wonderful for me. But this entire show starts off with a bad robot voice.
It does, and it didn't make sense to me. I thought I was watching like a weirdly slowed down copy of this thing.
It just goes, Sky
Commander. But it's got the like Sky Commander. Like something to have like a bad Transformers rip, and I think that's probably what caused it. But it had nothing to do with anything. There are no robots. There's no robot voices. It's just zip lines and sometimes plants.
Yeah, zip lines, plants, and tentacle porn.
Some ladies.
Yeah.
Some ladies. Some Irish ladies. An Irish lass.
Irish lass.
Oh, Faith and Bagara. Okay, that's it for me.
Oh, man.
But we had some opinions, which we'll share with you in a second, but there were some other opinions out there. These were pulled from Amazon because IMDb is like, fuck that, we don't have any. You want to read the first one here for us?
Yeah, sure. So we this one that we have is from Damaged Control,
boy.
which con is spelled like KAHN
Of course it is.
-TROLL. So this
Shout out
this
to
got
Damage Control.
Yeah, thanks for all of your good work, Damage Control. This is a 3 out of 5 stars. It says memories fade with age. I loved this show as a kid. I even had the zipline action figures. Having seen these episodes now, I question my quote-unquote coolness as a child. It's not a bad show, but it's not that great either. Save your cash and get that Pound Puppies DVD.
That stinger killed me.
I can't make it. Save your cash and get that Pound Puppies
killed me.
DVD.
Question your coolness. Save your pennies. Get that Pound Puppies DVD.
Damage Control, you keep being cool with those Pound Puppies, buddy.
Pound Puppies represent. Are Pound Puppies like, are they still going like My Little Pony and Bronies out there?
I don't think so.
No?
But I appreciate Damage Control giving those dogs a forever home. What a good guy.
That's true. Get those DVDs. All right, we got another one from Lawson Allen. This is a little more recent from last March 2015. 5 out of 5 stars. This is spelled terribly, by the way, but you're not going to quite get it by me reading it to you. But just imagine that everything I say is spelled incorrectly. This show also had a very cool toy line. One of the greats from the late 1980s. The show only got 13 eps. Very much needs to make a comeback. This DVD is a great buy. So there you go. It's funnier to me because everything is spelled wrong. It's not quite as funny when I read it out loud. But no, it's a fun show. I mean, we'll talk about recommendations here. So do you recommend it? And if not, do you give it the dip, which again, erases it from existence for all time?
I recommend
Nice.
this.
No dip. Dip today.
I recommend this.
I recommend it too, man. I think it's a lot of fun. It's very different from anything you'll ever watch as far as like the action style. I mean, the good guys versus bad guys is exactly the same. The other tropes are exactly the same. But
the dialogue is bad.
bad.
You get a robot voice.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is exactly
But
like you'd expect in the 80s. But
right.
zipline.
But you were, but ziplines. Definitely.
No, I just
ziplines.
love it's a really cool, unique kind of like method to get the action and the combat and the transportation across. The backstory is completely insane. You knew it was made to create toys, but it's just fun. I think this one was a lot of fun. It made me laugh. It surprised me a lot of the times, and it was just a good watch. Good watch. Check out Sky Commander. A lot of fun. It's a good surprise too. I like being surprised either in a pleasant way or a really disappointing way.
Yeah.
This is the former.
This was a good one.
Yeah.
I'd watch more.
Well, you only got 12 more episodes to watch, and then you're done forever until we make Sky Commanders 2.0.
Was there anything? Final thought about this. Was there anything sort of about this that reminded you of another cartoon that we've watched like 2 years ago called Spiral Zone?
I was thinking a little Spiral Zone with the weird vehicles and stuff that they had, but it was like if Spiral Zone and Centurions got together.
Okay. Because
it was like, well, we don't want to wear Lego exosuits, but we do want to attach combat backpacks to ourselves. So let's just combine the two.
I'm never gonna get tired of saying the word combat backpack.
Combat backpack. It's pretty fantastic.
Combat backpack.
And I think wasn't Centurions Hanna-Barbera? I think they were back in the day.
Maybe.
So I mean, the animation maybe look a little similar too. So if you guys liked or even hated either of those, you might want to just check out Sky Commanders. It's cast in the same vein. As for you, buddy, what do you have coming up in the next couple of weeks?
Oh man, when this is coming out, thank you to anybody who came to watch POTUS at WIT. We are all done for another 4 years until we re-elect President Trump. Yeah. And of course, you guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Sean Paul Ellis.
Fantastic. You can find me on Twitter at Dr. Claw MD. I actually have something to plug this week. First time in a very long time. This entire month of November, as some of you know, is National Novel Writers Month. I've done that in the past, but I thought it would be interesting if while y'all were out there writing novels, if you actually wanted to read one as well. So I went ahead and wrote one for you. Basically, what I'm doing is releasing a chapter a day for the entire month of November. The title is called Black Castle. You can actually follow that hashtag Black Castle, all one word. It's basically, it's kind of science fiction, but just science, almost realistically based thriller that, imagine if John McClane from Die Hard actually had a PhD in like chemistry and virology. Kind of the same idea. So it was fun, a lot of fun for me. Fun little thriller. Got some twists and turns. So if you guys are into that and want to read a chapter a day, check out my page, davefrumbor.com, or follow me on Twitter and Facebook and look for Black Castle. Other places you can find me are on collider.com, nerdist.com, and of course at our own website, SaturdayMorningCartoons.com. Remember, that's morning with a U. You can also find us on Twitter at MorningToons. Check out our Instagram page. Sean's been putting some fantastic stuff up there for you guys to check out. We're continuing the conversation on our Facebook page where we're well over 3,200 likes. Thank you guys so much for all the shares, follows, conversations. Fantastic work over there. We're loving it. Love the conversations. Each and every week, you can listen to us through our YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe over there. And you can listen to our free audio podcast each and every week through iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. As always, if you want to reach out to us, send us an email, SaturdayMorningCartoons@gmail.com. For the rest of this month, what do we got coming up, buddy? What's up next week?
Oh, man, we have this has been on the docket for a while because we hate ourselves. We are going to watch Emergency Plus Four. Plus Four.
Are we going to have a special guest? We might.
I believe we are. I believe we are actually going to have a real life EMS firefighter join us next week.
Plus 4.
Plus 1.
Oh, plus
so it'll
one.
be Sean and Dave plus 1.
That's the new name of the show. Sean and Dave
right.
plus 1.
So next week for Emergency Plus 4, I believe we were going to have a guest. It's been a while since he's been on the show, but Alex Capice, who was on our Ren and Stimpy episode, he is going to be making a comeback and talking Emergency Plus 4 with us. And then followed by that, we're going to round out the month of November with Cadillacs and Dinosaurs.
Yeah, we're knocking out some classics here that have been on our list for a long time, and I'm glad we're getting around to some of these too because they're being quite surprising so far with the month of November. So looking forward to it. That's about it for us tonight. So thank you guys very much for listening. This has been Saturday Morning Cartoons, and we will see you next time. Thanks.
Hey, everybody. Thanks a lot for listening to Saturday Morning Cartoons. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to transform and roll out.